So there's been a lot of talk in the last couple of years about lofted woods, and you're seeing the pros add them, and we're fitting an awful lot more. We brought Ian in, who's about a 7 handicapper, found it, but who's, in this instance, it's better to get more of a real golfer than myself hitting shots to actually explain why you've played 4-iron and we've added a 7 wood in recently, to explain kind of what the differences are and what it's added to your game. So ultimately, is it something that you should seriously be considering? Because a lot of people haven't in the past, based on it being an old man's club. But what can a lofted wood or a hybrid do for your game that 4-iron can't? So Ian's worked with us here at PG for a few years in a business advisory role, strategy role, hence the logo on the top here, and obviously we fitted you over a number of years, and you've played long iron for eternity,
right?
But added the 7 wood in recently. And what was the kind of the spark that made you kind of go down that route?
So I'm playing P770s, which you fitted for me a couple of years ago, with a Aerotech I80, which is quite a light shaft, but it reflects where my game's got to. I'm a bit slower than I used to be. Not necessarily as dynamic through the ball. So generally I like my tech to do the work for me, which wasn't necessarily the case 20 years ago. But in that vein, I'll find that I can go out and not know whether I'm going to hit my 4-iron, button it off the middle or scuff it, or just slightly catch it off centre and just not come up next to the green or wherever I need to be on a long shot. So. I've seen everyone coming in looking at 7 woods. I see it on the tour. The amount of players playing 7 woods, 9 woods. So for me, it was just a question of can I come in, take a look at what it does for me, get past all the silly myths about it not being the right club for a golfer to hit. I'm not as young as I used to be, but I'm not ancient. But who cares? If the club works, let's take a look. So You fitted me for the G430 at the start of the year. Amazing club. I can't speak more highly of how the club works for me. So, very happy to share how it's changed how I look at the game and how I hit balls today.
So we're going to get a bit of data with both, and we'll talk through what you find on course with them, kind of what they work for, but also show the data as what the differences are. But we felt this would be useful to put a more kind of realistic slant on how these apply on course, rather than just the theory of in the bay and the number side of it. Actually put some on course experience with it as well. So let's get you hitting.
Let's show why the 4-iron isn't always my favourite club.
I think so. Irons wise, I always remember going back to previous fittings. It's never been a case where irons have been a struggle from a strike point of view. I think that's really kind of first thing to say. Is it's not the decision on club for you is more about what job you want it to do rather than I can't hit the 4-iron.
Right, exactly. I mean, I'll often just pull it out because it feels like the right club. But if I feel as though there's a lot of danger around the green or challenges, am I that confident hitting this? If I've got to carry it 185 over water, would I pull it out? Really I wouldn't. So that's where I'm at.
And generally, what sort of courses do you find yourself playing on? Is there a particular course style,
No.
link style, inland, park, or just a wide variety?
Anywhere I can get a game, but I mean, luckily 2 weeks ago I was at Royal St Port's. Friend invited me down, had a lovely day down there. Other time it's inland courses, it's high quality, it's not great courses. Really, you name it, I've played it.
I think sometimes the challenge over here in particular is we get such a wide variety of conditions, course types, weather, that this bit of the bag is very much about finding. You could argue the extravagant way to do it is to go, well, have options. Have one for one set of conditions, one for another. But unless you're solely playing the one course over and over again, I'd say we have a lot of viewers in the US where actually a lot of it's through the air based, is water hazards, it's softer turf conditions, the ball's not running out that much. There's not that much wind. You take Arizona, for example, you get some wind, but the course conditions are very, very consistent year round. Whereas maybe kind of northeast of New York way, it's a bit more like over here where we get really firm and hard in summer and soft and boggy and horrible in winter. So that often presents quite a challenge to players over here as to what the right thing to do is. We'll get a couple more, and I'll kind of have a look at what sort of data you're getting with the 4-iron here.
Yep.
But yeah, and that's often the challenge we find in the UK. Yeah, because these ones, strike-wise, are all really nice. I mean, that last one there, I mean, I pull the data on the screen here. That last shot there, so 149 efficiency is absolutely ripped.
Right.
But the one before, very similar, a little bit more out-to-in path-wise, just missed the strike, and that carries back 60 yards, which is brutal on course. But that last one there, it's a lovely hit, 179 carry. But the 4-iron for you, this is where on a links, really useful because there's low spin. So it's coming out and it's pummeling forwards, it's going through wind. And we mentioned off camera earlier, but in terms of where you'd use it, but that kind of lower spin, it's moderate launch angle's fine, but the spin's that bit lower. So it's not a club that's going to give you height and stopping power.
No.
But if you're down at Royal Sankport on the coast and it's into a hoolie, that's going straight through.
Yeah. But the shot, I mean, those two shots are, represent completely my love and hate with this club. Why would I suddenly nail one when the shot before, it was really a scuff. So, it's that inconsistency that feeds into my confidence when I stand in front of the ball, am I going to button it or not?
And so where would you find yourself, where would be your kind of comfort blanket using that? Is there a particular scenario that you'd automatically go for the 4-iron on course?
As opposed to a 7-wood or just in general?
I think in general, if there's where would be your kind of comfort zone on course with the 4-iron? If it's a club that you've had a while, but where would you go? Yeah, it's definitely that club.
So possibly a short par 4, 330, 370 yards. I don't need to hit it that far, and there's trouble, and I'm confident it's teed up nicely. There's no issues around a poor lie getting in my brain, let alone getting in the way. And then I'll often pull it out and be happy with that. But aside from that,
because I mean that's the thing with this. If you look at the left-right dispersion,
right?
It's 6-7 yards left, and the one that's furthest right is 15. But that's all within a fairway's width. You're looking at roughly a 22-yard spread at the extremes, but they're all in play. And the one thing with that lower flight is it doesn't shape. It hasn't got as much time in the air to shape. So that scenario of putting it in play on a fairway, it's just bulleting out there and chasing down there, especially this time of year when it's firm and fast. Those are getting out to kind of 190, 200. That's going to get out to 210, 220 potentially.
Okay.
Really useful when the ground's firm.
Yeah.
So, right, let's give you a switch over to 7-wood. See what we get from that.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Straight away, not middle, but straight away, it's up.
Yeah.
There's ball flight there.
What I like is it really tucks in under the ball.
Yes.
So it gives you a sense that you've got the club doing a lot of that launching straight away.
And it's so key, that confidence over the ball. If you're stood over it going, if I don't get this perfectly, I'm in trouble. It's a completely different mindset to, oh look, that's nice, that looks easy.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think it is interesting how the perception of lofted woods, hybrids of head covers in the bag. It's carried a stigma over the years, and it's something that we're looking at. As you mentioned earlier, we're looking at tour players playing 9 woods in the majors.
Right.
If these guys are using them, then why the heck aren't us amateurs using those lofted woods as well?
And to be honest, a few of the rounds I played over the summer, golfers who don't play that often necessarily have come up to me and said, well, why are you playing that? And I said, well, look, have you not seen Scotty Scheffler plays one or or they're just normal now. But I think there's still a little bit of that inertia from golfers who aren't that focused on the tech side, who haven't cottoned on to the idea that this is something that really works for them now.
I still, not as often now, but I still have people who come in and go, oh, well, that's cheating, isn't it? It's like high result. Like,
Right.
No, it's a tool to do a job. And I think that's historically, it's like, oh, I can't use that. That's making the game too easy. Don't think golf's ever going to be too easy.
This is the Ozempic of golf clubs. Is that what you're saying?
A little bit, I think. Yeah.
So I didn't catch that perfectly, but it's still going.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. You've got so much weight now on the bottom of the heads. You know, an iron head, the weight's, you know, it's a narrower sole shape. The head size is completely different. They can't get the weight as far away from the face. They can't make the heads as stable.
Yeah.
And just a totally different dynamic on an off-center hit. And I think that's a really, when you come to look at the data in a moment, that's going to be a really key thing to remember.
Yeah. Again, a bit low on the face, but
one more, so we've got the same kind of total amount of shots, and we can compare where that data sits. So actually, I mean, that last one, low on the face, I mean, that, if we look at that in comparison to that forearm, that'll be really interesting.
Yeah.
So looking over the data here is quite interesting. As we said, you launch the forearm well. Actually, the base launch angle isn't that different. But what we are getting is more spin. So where the forearm came out flat and lower and chased out, which you know, in certain circumstances has a value, the extra spin and extra height that you're going to get out of the 7-wood, that then, if you're looking at consistency of distance, you know, that tolerance number gives us a clue to, you know, the higher flight's always going to win out for carry distance. So, you know, the consistency of launch angle, those smaller numbers at the bottom there, that's, you know, less than half the distance, half the difference on the 7-wood to the forearm. Now, actually, spin rate variable's higher on the 7-wood, but basically every other data set that we get, the tolerance is better. You know, be it, you know, ball speed 2.4 to 4.0, you know, launch angle 1.7 to 3.9, distance 8.5 yards to 23. So what that shows us is the punishment of a miss on the forearm is multiple times greater than that on the 7-wood. So in terms of on course, adding the 7-wood, what's been the gain that you found having that on course?
Confidence to attack a reachable hole where historically it would be my best Sunday best 4-iron. I know I could get there, but I don't have to feel as though I've got my Sunday best swing with the 7-wood. You know, so it just gives you the confidence to really go at a hole. You know, there's no point hitting a great drive and then backing off on your shot into the green if you're not confident. So it really makes me, you know, encourages me to, you know, when I'm feeling good about my game, to attack holes more. And to be honest, if I've got a patchy lie or I'm in a rough, I'm still happy pulling the club out. You know, whereas I'd rarely hit a 4-iron out of a tangly lie, because then the shot outcome is going to be, you know, random. Practically.
It's an all or nothing kind of result.
Well, exactly.
I think there's another screen I'm going to put on in a moment that also shows, you say, that kind of carry distance playing into a greenside, the value of that. And this is where actually for the vast majority of players, you know, say a flatter, lower launching running shot, certain courses, certain conditions has a value. But on this screen here, these are the carry differentials. So the consistency of carry distance, yes, there's the really well hit one with the 7-wood, similar 4-iron, really well hit one, it's a similar uplift in terms of carry distance. But this one here is the miss hit, which actually retained good ball speed. It came a little lower on the face, it launched lower, but the ball speed stayed good, so the carry stayed good. And we look at what happens with a similar hit with a 4-iron, it's fallen off a cliff. So, you know, solid to really good hits, well, actually, you know, with both clubs, you can argue, well, there's some value of both. However, if you miss one, the 7-wood's, as I say, multiple times better. You know, much less drop off in performance. So for the vast majority of players, that's really where we've seen the value of a lofted wood or a hybrid versus a long iron.
And I'll be honest, my short game isn't as tight as it could be. So if I feel there are bunkers that are going to come into play with a poorly hit shot, a 160, 170 bunker, I might then think again with a 4-iron, with the 7 wood. I'm super happy to pull it out, knowing that I'll get past that and get at or close to the green.
So I think that really gives a bit of a kind of a more, you could argue, kind of real time look at on course experience, and saying that screen in particular is sort of night and day of why, as you rightly said there, 170 odd carry, it's doable with the 4, but you've got to really get it. Whereas with the 7 wood, you don't really have to get it; it still gets over the top of them. And those are often the way ups that we're making for this bit of the bag. They said that the luxury way of doing it is to have, if you've got varying conditions you play, is to have one for one set of scenarios, one for another. Some players have both in the bag because you get those scenarios on course. You might just go, actually, this just feels the right club. But this part, the transition irons into woods, most of the time, consistencies, therefore confidence, is so much more valuable.
Well, I mean, we haven't even spoken about knocking the ball over water. Imagine I've got a lake and I've got 170 carry. All of those shots with the 7 wood tell me I'm comfortable going over the lake, even with my worst hit shots. Whereas with the 4-iron, I could be wet.
Not a good outcome. So conclusion-wise, what we can glean from all of this is that actually, both clubs have a value and do a job, but the job they do can be totally different and will suit different players in different scenarios. So ultimately, make sure that you get the club that does the right job for you, given the situation that you play in the most.
Right. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. For me, I'm more than happy to tell anyone I'm playing with, take a look at one of these, just because you might find that it becomes almost your favourite club, or the club you want to be pulling out, which is quite an unusual feeling for a long shot.
Yeah, and that confidence is so huge, that feeds through the rest of the bag, and consistency of, if you're umming and ahhing between options, go to consistency, because ultimately that means the next time you set up with that club on the course, it's not the, if I get this right, it's great, but if I don't, it's horrible. It's, I can get away with a lot more. And if the top players in the world are doing this, then maybe you should be doing it too. So hope that's helped and can give you a bit of insight into the kind of things we look at during fittings and why certain options suit some players but not others, and why it's important to get what matches you well. So if you like the content and like getting Ian in on this, subscribe, hit the like button. You never know, we might rip them in more in the future.